What you're looking at here is my seed and planting setup for my garden this year. This is one thing I'm going to be doing a lot more videos on. It kind of piqued my interest as a natural progression of things you do after you buy a gun. Or at least this is what I've seen in my experience as a typical progression. Of course, it happens in many different ways, but for me, I purchased my first gun, I believe was an AK-47, and then my first pistol was a Beretta 92. And from there, the gun obsession continued and more guns have been bought. And in the process, a few side items have been acquired as well. Knives and multi-tools and different things. And your interests kind of branch out. And that slowly progresses into being prepared for certain things. You start thinking of the different sorts of things that we might take for granted in our society, like going to the grocery store and being able to buy food. The first thing that is probably realized by someone who purchases a gun and those who are like-minded is you are in charge of your personal security. We take for granted police officers and the duty they perform for us. We sometimes overstate their abilities, and that's not an insult to officers. The ones who are doing their job constitutionally and the way they were intended to do when this country was founded are very helpful people who want nothing more than for society to be happy, uninfringed, and supported. They're the guys who are on the side of the street helping you change your tire. They're the guys who are helping you and your neighbor settle a dispute without hauling you to court and putting you through the process. They're the guys who are enforcing laws when they need to be enforced, not looking for a law to enforce. And those are the kinds of people that we need more of in society. But back to the point, we take their abilities and overstate them, and a lot of liberal mindset would say cops are the only ones who need guns, right? Well, police officers are kind of heavy and hard to carry, so I like to carry a gun. And many of you who have had a violent attack or know someone who's had a violent attack can probably attest to the fact that there wasn't a police officer there to stop you. However, there was a police officer there to take a report. That's most, in fact, what they do in their positions. Is most of it is reporting that you got stabbed, reporting that you got shot, reporting that you got robbed. So as time goes on and we experience these things, we know people who experience these things, or we just take a moment and think, we realize, hey, maybe I should get a gun. Hey, maybe I should get a CPL. And I'm not the only one who has thought this, because the number of CPLs and firearm ownership in general has skyrocketed in recent years. On to the reason we're looking at little tiny plants. As we branch out, like we did with guns, we start to think about other scenarios and say, you know what, the grocery store might not be there all that long. America's a young country. We've had our moment in the sun. And with the people who are in charge right now in mind, we kind of have a somewhat dimmer view of the future. And we start to think, what would happen? What would my government do if history is any indicator in a disaster, in an economic collapse? What would they do for me to make sure that I have food, to make sure that I'm well taken care of? The answer to that is not very much. And who's going to be in charge of my and my family's personal security, food, freedoms, and everything we enjoy day to day? It's going to be you, the head of the house, and the family as a whole. That's who. So that brings me to, and what I'm sure has brought you and many other people to, the issue of gardening and being self-sustaining. Now, when I talk about being self-sustaining, I don't approach it the way a lot of other people do. A lot of other people will say you need to go buy $10,000 worth of MREs, and you need to go buy $20,000 of rice in a bucket or whatever it is. That is unsustainable to me. In my mind, that is something that can be burned through, and then you're stuck with your thumb up your butt. And you're just delaying the inevitable. That's all that is. So, and I am not trying to prepare for a nuclear strike or anything. I know those are real possibilities with our foreign policy, but the chances are very minute compared to economic collapse. And that is really what my focus is. I do not have confidence in the people making decisions, how they're running, for instance, corporate taxes. There's a reason huge corporations with billions of dollars are keeping them offshore, is because we are going to take 35% of it as soon as they cross the line, the border. And nobody wants to do that. So until we get our economy in good hands, which I can guarantee it will not be in the next 3 years, especially if we lose the House next year. So please vote if you're a Republican. If you're a liberal, you might want to take a nap that day. So, where was I? Back to the discussion at hand. In an economic collapse, I could see food being scarce. The grocery stores will be wiped out quickly, and my plants will still be growing in the ground. My jarring will still be able to continue. So no, I'm not going to go buy MREs, and I'm not saying you're stupid if you did. That is just not what I'm going to choose to do. My approach is going to be more sustainable, more Amish, I guess. So I am going to focus on growing from seed, harvesting seed, successfully replanting seed. I'm going to focus on jarring as a storage, as a way to store long term, and I'm going to cycle through this food like I normally would. I'm going to try and build up, good amount of supply just to get me through a winter or something like that, but nothing excessive. I don't plan on stockpiling 5 years worth of food, just enough to get me by and to be reasonable. So I just want to show you my little project here. These are tomato plants, and we'll zoom in and take a look at them a little more in detail. This is how I started them, and I want to open this up with you guys because I didn't open this one yet and actually forgot I had it. So I'll explain what this is for those of you who didn't learn this in kindergarten or whenever they go over that these days. This is a Ziploc bag with a lightly moistened, not soaked paper towel folded in there with tomato seeds sprinkled throughout. Now, if you do this and you seal it and you put it in a windowsill that gets sun, today's a terrible day in Michigan, about 40 degrees and raining. But normally on a sunny day, you put those in the windowsill and little sprouts start to come out, and you'll have yourself the start of a little plant. After that, you take them, and once they get to be, I actually just planted these. Once they get to be about yay big, where they have a little flick of a leaf coming out, or even sooner, you can put them right in the soil if you want even. You will have the start of a little plant, which is right there. There's a little guy. Aren't they cute? And so on and so forth. So that is the end goal. Let's open this guy up and see if I can get my tripod going, and we can experience this together if we have any more, which for me would be great on one hand, not so great on the other because I'll have to go get more planters out of the garage. Let me prop this up. Let's see what we got. Okay, I am going to pull this paper towel out, and you want to be gentle, but you don't have to go crazy about it. They're pretty hardy. You can imagine how much the wind will blow them around and do all sorts of nasty things to them in nature, and they still make it. So I try not to go too overboard with it all, although they can be fragile to some extent. Let's see what we got here. Now right off the bat you can see We got a beautiful sprout right there. That guy is just thriving. That's what we like to see, huh? He's looking good. Now you'll notice that he's grown into the paper towel, and with these I have successfully been able to just kind of pinch him at the base and gently tug, and you can see him start wiggling through, and usually you can pull him through. If there's any doubt, just cut the paper towel out around the root and plant the whole thing. That way you don't have any risk, and this isn't going to restrict anything. The roots will grow right through that, as you've seen here. Now this guy's got some business going on, but I don't know that he is going to make it or thrive. There's a few of them in here who are doing something like that, and you can see, let's get focused here. This guy's got something going on. Everybody else, there's not much success other than that guy. I think these will, most of them, sprout. This is honestly the first day I've noticed any growth. These have taken about, let me zoom out here so we can just talk. These have taken me about 3 weeks, and I have not had a ton of great success with these seeds. As you can see, I have plenty of good ones. I think I planted, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe 11, we'll just say 10 to make it easy, per bag. I did 3 bags of these, so I had about 30 seeds. You can see here I put about 1 or 2 into each one, so we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. All right, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Yes, and those are either seeds that were sprouted or single plants. So out of 30, we probably got 50 to 60% success. This bag is definitely the least fruitful, and that's probably why I skipped over it. But anyways, those are the experiences that we need to learn from. It's not enough in my book to buy a bunch of seeds and stock them and store them properly so they're good for years, because you won't know what to do. You don't want to be the guy who has to grow the food and has to learn at the same time. Just like you don't want to be the guy who bought your, let me see what I have on my hip at the moment, for example purposes. Let's see, it's dangerous, let's be real. Alright, who bought your Glock 17 and had to use it right then and there and with no experience. You don't want to be that guy. That's why everyone who has any sense will say, don't just buy your gun, get out and shoot it. Get out and use it. This is my Glock 17 that, as you can see, has wear on it because I carry it all the time. And I actually shoot my 34 more than my 17, but that's okay because they're basically similar. So, don't be the guy who stores the seeds, who gets all the emergency gear, and never goes out camping, never goes and stays overnight in the middle of winter or in the extremist weather that you have locally in your climate. Don't be that guy. I'm trying not to be that guy. I get out and I run and I shoot. I don't just shoot, I run and I shoot. I have some videos of that, and even more experience of that that's not on video. So, get out and do that. Raise your heart rate and do some shooting, and do the equivalent with your planting and your gardening. Get out there and plant some stuff. I got a bigger garden than I've ever had, and I'm going to increase it every year. And I encourage you to do the same. Get out there, start from seed, see what your success rate's going to be. See how those plants deal with frost. I'm in Michigan, so we have a lot of unexpected frost. We had one that almost killed a lot of people's stuff. Luckily, most of mine wasn't in the ground yet. And what was planted was potted, so I could pull it in the garage. We're about 2 degrees high of a frost tonight, so we have some risk, but should be okay. And everything is in the ground, so lots at stake. Now imagine if you didn't have that experience and you had to learn that one year where you needed it. That frost could be the end of you, or a very, very hard winter at least. So these kinds of experiences are great. There's so many things you can learn from experience that you wouldn't be able to read on a book. And for me, one thing I'm looking at is not just vegetables in a garden. I'm planting a lot of fruit trees. I planted 2 apple trees this year that are about 3 or 4 years old. They flowered very beautifully this year and pollinated, or were pollinated by the bees, and have now probably 100 little apples on them. and they're going to do well for me this year. And the things you need to learn, and the things that you really need to think about and get your hands on, is information like with my apple trees. I didn't just go get my favorite apple and buy as many of them as I could. I went out and I bought two apple trees that flower the same time of year. Different apple trees will flower at different times of year and give you a different time at which you need to harvest them. Now, the reason that's important is if you get the same apple trees, like say you like Honeycrisp, and you get 20 trees of Honeycrisp and start yourself a Honeycrisp orchard. Bees need to cross-pollinate your apple trees. So if you have one type in that they're all pollinating the same pollen, you're going to get a very unfruitful harvest. Now, if you were to take Honeycrisp, and I'm not sure what cross-pollinates with it, but something that flowers in the same year, let's just say it's a Liberty or Freedom or whatever those brands are, and it flowers the same time of year and the bees cross-pollinate for you, you're going to have a very fruitful harvest. That's just the way it is. So you want to find two trees that fruit the same time of year but are different. That's the key to fruitful harvest, or so I hear. I'm going to experience that this year, so I look forward to that, and I'll definitely share that with you guys. Those are the kinds of things we need to learn from experience and not just reading. So I encourage you, it's a little late this year. I don't know if you're going to be able to do it. You could try it. Sure, why not? Get yourself some seeds. Certainly, if you're in the South, you'd be fine. Get yourself some seeds. Put them in some paper towels. Start from seed. It's only a couple dollars. Put them in some soil, and we'll get a close-up here of what I got going, but put them in some soil. Grow yourself, these are tomatoes if I didn't mention that, grow yourself some plants. Get yourself some food out of it. Learn how to jar, and if you already know how to do all that, get a wood stove so you can jar, barring power outages or failure on the gas lines or lack of propane, whatever it may be. Get yourself squared away. Get a cheap wood stove on the internet. Throw it in your garage. Those are pretty basic, Learn how to cut some wood and split it up and season it so you know how to do all that good stuff. And get that experience. I look forward to doing more videos about preparedness, specifically my emergency packs I've been working on, my first aid kits, and various other things. I'm not the expert on any of this, but I'm certainly willing to learn, and hope you guys enjoy. And we'll see you.